Hey folks, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of YOMO. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. Today we're doing reflection 249, and this is also a two-part reflection from a book called Year of Yes: How to Dance It Out, Stand in the Sun, and Be Your Own Person by Shonda Rhimes. So,
Yeah, do you know who Shonda Rhimes is?
I have no idea.
I didn't think so. All right.
It doesn't seem like this is the kind of book that's in your realm of interest, but who knows?
This was a book that my wife and I did together. Shonda Rhimes is like one of her favorite TV show writers. She writes Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, and Scandal, I think is her other really big show that she wrote. And
I don't watch any of those shows.
I don't either. My wife does.
Maybe that's why I don't know who Shonda Rhimes.
So you know what Grey's Anatomy is, right?
Yeah, I've heard of it. It's some series.
Yeah, it's been around for almost like 20 years now, I think, or something like that. That was her first show that she started writing. That was like her first big hit. I was in college when Grey's Anatomy came out, and I think I was a senior the year that Grey's Anatomy came out, the first season of it, and it was a mega hit. I mean, like mega hit. I mean, there was Grey's Anatomy parties all over campus, like watch parties every single week, and it was like we used to do it. Hell, I watched the first season of Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, man, this show is amazing. It was really good, actually. I mean, it was just a great show, and obviously there's a reason why it's been around for 20 seasons. And Shonda is, it's her show. It's her writing. It's her, she's a great writer. And she went on to make a lot of other great TV shows as well. And she has her own little empire that she's built now of the Shonda Rhimes shows that she is very, very famous for. Anyway, the reason why this book was chosen was because my wife's a big fan of. My wife still watches Grey's Anatomy. I stopped watching after season 1, but she's still 20 years later still religiously.
Are they still running?
Yeah, it's still on right now. Yeah, it's still on. Like it's like I'm blown away by that. I'm like, this is wild. Like, so my wife loves it. Like, and so we came across this book, and I was like, hey, all right, you want to do this one? And she was like, yeah, that sounds fun, let's do it. So this book's about Shonda's life and her year of yes. She found herself in her own little, I don't want to call it an atomic bomb event, but she found herself in her own, like, kind of trapped in her own world of her creation, all the TV shows and things that she was doing, and kept saying no to like everything, and really had shut herself off from the world, and just focused on her kids and her show, and that was it, kind of thing. And she had kind of stopped living, really, beyond her meaningful work every day and her children. Like, she had stopped just like living her life completely. And so she had a bit of a I gotta shake everything up situation. And
seems like she eats too much chocolate.
Something like that. Yeah, she was like, overweight, was unhappy, was kind of borderline depressed, and felt kind of imprisoned by the world that she had built a little bit. So she decided she was going to spend an entire year of saying yes. They asked her to go do something. She gets requests all the time to go do something, and her manager or her agent was like, yeah, I know the answer. And she's like, what do you mean you know the answer? And he goes, well, you always say no to everything. I don't need to ask. So she made a deal with this person that she was going to force herself to say yes to pretty much anything that came her way for an entire year, and just see what happens. And that was what this book's about, for a year of yes. How to just embrace life again a little bit and get outside your comfort zone and see what happens. It was an interesting book. She's a great writer, obviously, so it was well written, and it's more of a personal memoir. It's not like one of her fantasy, kind of TV shows or anything like that. So it was cool. I enjoyed it. She's creative, great writer, all that good stuff. Anyway, one of her things that she talked about on this year of yes was Jenny McCarthy. And this reflection is about Jenny McCarthy and living a life of values as a team sport. So do you know who Jenny McCarthy is?
I do.
Okay, this is not about that Jenny McCarthy. Jenny McCarthy is actually the name of Shonda Rhimes' nanny. Shonda Rhimes is not married, and she has 3 children. She had them all via in vitro fertilization or like adoption. She decided to have children on her own and not have a husband. Jenny McCarthy is her nanny, and all the things that this whole year of yes, she devoted an entire chapter of her book to Jenny McCarthy, and how Jenny McCarthy is like, allows her, is the true glue in their family that allows her to, to be able to do the things that she likes to do, specifically this year of yes, for sure. I mean, to get outside of her comfort zone and have somebody there she could trust, that knows that they can take care of the family and take care of all the responsibilities of life. And it made me think, as this is the year of magical learning, right? This is all about like learning lessons and how you apply it to your own life, about all the Jenny McCarthys in my own life, right? Living a life of values and meaningful work is not easy. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's a ton of fun, but it is not easy to constantly say no to so many other things and only say yes to the stuff that aligns to who you want to be, how you want to live, and the mission you want to bring out into this world. I mean, we talk about this all the time of even doing this kind of thing right now. You and I, we've met every single night for almost 3 years now around this time of night. Well, it's actually changed a few different times just to accommodate life and schedules and stuff. Every single night, sometimes it was during the day, sometimes it's been at 6 o'clock, sometimes it's been at 8:30, which is what we've been doing for the past couple of years, about a year or so. These things are not easy to coordinate around. There's a lot of life that happens, and saying yes to this and no to everything else is not easy. Or similarly, in the mornings of all the stuff that I do with Amelia and making sure that it is very easy for life to get in the way. The AC went out or whatever, you're on vacation, you got an early morning meeting you have to get to, or you have to travel for work. Life constantly comes at you in waves. To keep your ship pointed toward what you like to do and producing the meaningful work that you like to produce requires an entire team behind you to make that happen. So for me, it made me think about my own wife, right? And there's been a lot of sacrifices that she's made to allow me and you to be able to talk every single night for an hour over the past couple of years. And I'm sure your wife does the same. And I'm sure your kids do the same. And everybody and all the team behind, True, and allowing him to do the stuff that he does every single day. My wife is a saint for dealing with and putting up with me. The work that I do with Amelia and living for two every single day is truly important to me, but I can't do it alone. Luca's poopy little diaper could be waiting there for me and distract me, right? And that's okay, because I like being able to take care of my children and be an active parent. But you can't really produce meaningful work and be able to do all those other things at the same time. It's just not possible. It's got to be a trade-off of time, in order for you to have time to do this stuff, right? It just isn't possible. So for me, my wife is incredibly important for giving me that time. And then this made me think about my own Jenny McCarthy and our own nanny, Kiara. She had been around for almost 2 years with Luca, or a year and a half with Luca. And, she not only allowed me to do my meaningful work every single day, she'd get here early up in the morning so I could go upstairs and write and, and learn and read a book or do audiobooks or whatever, or go get a workout in with Amelia. And she'd be the one that I could hand off Luca to and let her, take care of him. And when I would hand him off to her, I knew that she would treat him not just like, a nanny would, but it's her own child. I mean, she was amazing. She was the glue that held our family together. Not only did she help me be able to do my meaningful work every single day, she helped my wife, because my wife's charter school that she started, that's her expression of meaningful work that's honoring our daughter in her own way, and she's told me that many times. My mom, my dad, my aunts and uncles, people that are there to help us manage life. None of this is possible. I couldn't find time in the day if I had to take care of Luca or other responsibilities that you can't get away from. If I couldn't slip away for a couple hours a few times a day to produce meaningful work and live for two, it's not possible. So I thought this was a really good reminder and a life lesson to write about and spend some time reflecting of, really truly living a life of values is a team sport. Everybody has duties to do in this world. Everybody has responsibilities that you not just want to do, but you have to do, right? But at the same time, meaningful work is a whole different animal. And for people to be able to have that, I think that everybody should be able to have meaningful work and truly time for themselves to get into that flow state and find the stuff that matters most to them. But to do that, you need help. And we all do. You can't do it alone. And that's one of the core values of Clubany. And that's one of the core values of everything that we do here. And I really appreciate Kiara and my wife and everybody else, that team behind me that gives me the time to be able to go do the stuff that you and I do every single night together. So yeah, I don't know. I'll pause there. Love to get your thoughts.
Well, I think it's not much to say since
Sure.
we keep saying meaningful work, meaningful relationship, right? So those
Right.
things are like the yin and yang, right? You can't have one without the other. We cannot be self-sustaining. You would not have meaningful work unless you have meaningful relationship. Without meaningful relationship, there's no meaningful work. You wouldn't be on this meaningful work quest if it weren't for Amelia, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't even have Amelia with if it weren't for you and your wife.
Right.
You think about it, right?
Yeah.
We are social creature. We cannot live by ourselves. That's why I keep saying in the past, I don't live for myself. Me as being part of these circles, I have this circle of influence, and if I don't do the duty that my role is supposed to be, it breaks that chain. It breaks the cycles, right? Everybody like you and me, we are dependent on each other to make these meaningful work. I love to do year of practical learning, but if there's no one to do it with, would it still be meaningful?
No, actually, I don't think it would be, honestly. Well, I mean, it would be, but it's a different kind of meaning.
Meaningful work and a meaningful relationship goes together because
Right.
that part of the meaningful work that you do, like this thing that you do, is meaningful work because you have a meaningful relationship. So yes, can you have a year of magical learning in other ways with others? You're gonna have to find a counterpart, right? Whether that's to be, writing, but then when you write, right, you're talking to your daughter. That's
Right.
another relationship you do, because without another counterpart, at least one other party, there's not possible you have meaningful work, because what are you doing this for? If I were to do certain things, right, what am I doing this for? What, I mean, there is always a why. You have to have a why. It's usually some kind of a person, some kind of relationship, some kind of a thing you want to do. Right? You
Right.
say, if you have $1 trillion, but you can't tell anyone, right? Would that $1 trillion be worth the same, or with the feelings and the emotion you have having that money will be the same? It's gonna be negative on your emotions, because you have this thing you
Yeah.
can't share with no one. And to me, like, you cannot live by yourself. No one can be self-sustaining, because if you think you can be self-sustaining, you're mistaken, because we have this need by nature. We are nature to reach out and to connect. This is something we are born with, and that's something we cannot run away from. And so, to state the obvious again, life is full of interdependency and social interaction. If you don't have that, your life has no meaning. I mean, you can lie, but life to you isn't fulfilling, isn't adapting to this calling that you have, as far as this, combinations of DNA and genes that makes up who you are. And you're gonna have to make sure you don't disrupt the cycle, because you are part of an ecosystem. And if you don't do the thing that you need to do, it disrupts the chain downstream. And so that could create a catastrophic change or dramatic failures or whatever. I mean, that's the thing. Let's say you don't like beavers and you just get rid of beavers. What happened to the rest of the ecosystem? It is
It
not
all
as
falls to shit.
thriving. It falls to shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is, understand this basic thing that's obvious, that we always, it's too obvious. People think it's like, how people say the best place to hide is in plain sight. So
Right.
so when it's too obvious, people say, well, it's too simple. It can't be it. So I gotta look for something like completely secretive, and like it's not out in the open.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of things that we do today, a lot of things we search. Just like we're talking about the alchemist, right? Your treasure is in the backyard, but you think that it's in this, journey that
You
you
got to
have to go
go,
search.
got to
Oh
set
wait,
my
man,
10-year
it's like,
plan and go get it like this,
the thing is, you think the treasure is somewhere else where
right.
it's remote, right? Because you think about, like, the grass is always greener on the other side. That's what you think. That's what we think, right? And so for us, it's like, okay, if I were to do something, oh, I gotta go far away to go. It's like, for me, it's like, okay, let's say I'm in Houston, like, okay, yeah, I want to find treasure. I gotta go to Egypt. I gotta go to even Vietnam to find treasure. But I came from Vietnam, right? And when I'm in Vietnam, I say, well, the treasure isn't in here. It's like
Right.
in America, or in,
Right.
Japan or whatever. So when it's too obvious, too in plain sight, we think that's not the answer, because it's like right in front of you. It
Right.
can't be it. So we have to say, well, we're going to reject what we see, and we're going to look for things that is supposed to be hidden. To us, for whatever reason, we think that all treasure has to be hidden, and that's why, you know it's obvious, but it's not obvious, if that makes sense.
I think I think the point that you just made is kind of one of the fundamental life lessons.
One of the principle, one of the mental models that I want to take in as a tool in my tool belt is, don't overthink it, right?
Simplicity,
Like,
right?
you overthink things, right? It's
Right.
supposed to be simple. A lot of the good answers are already there. If you overthink it, you are missing the point. You're missing. You're missing. The thing is, you're not supposed to use this bias of treasure has to be hidden.
But it takes a lot of thinking to not overthink it.
So this is what I'm saying is, the simpler the answer is, the more profound the understanding. Because you look
Takes a
at
lot.
what we were talking about, E equal MC squared, right? It's a very simple formula. It's only
Right.
like two variables, right? They get two variables, but to get to that, it's like there's like 5, 6 chalkboards of formulas and mathematicals, derivatives and integrals and whatever, to find this E equals MC squared. So in order for you to understand something is to simplify it.
Mhm.
So it's profoundly, like the guy in The Alchemist, like to understand that the treasure is behind is in his backyard. He has to go through all of this journey and experience all of these trial and tribulations to finally understand that, hey, treasure is here. And this is how I can recognize treasure. Just like if I give you a piece of object, right? You don't know what it is until you have gone through the journey through faraway lands and to understand, to talk to different people and to gather enough knowledge and say, okay, this piece is actually treasure versus
Right.
junk. Because let's say you can't see it. Let's say you're blind, right? Only when you go through all of the different parts of the world, when you talk to different people, they give you a peek at the piece of the picture of your eyesight, for example, like maybe a hole, a little bit like a hole each. Right? And when you talk
Right.
to somebody, you have a bigger of a hole. And then by the time you get back, you will be able to see what object you have in your hand.
Mhm.
Because in the beginning, without knowing it, you're completely blind to it. Sometimes we think it's obvious, but it isn't obvious because you have to have the right tool for you to determine the quality or the essence of it. Without a tool, you won't be able to judge whatever it is that is either a treasure or just junk. And this is one of those things that is profoundly simple, but it's hard to get to. You're gonna have to
Very
go
hard.
through a lot of experiences to say, hey, this is actually treasure. Because if somebody will just born today, they can't understand that, hey, this is something that life, it's not just about me, it has to be everybody else's to make this life. If without other people there isn't life.
It's a whole integrated, it's a whole
I
ecosystem, like you said.
you that if you are the only person on earth, you probably won't last a month because there's no one here.
Right.
But if you are stuck on like an island, right, you probably gonna last about a couple years. But even then, you still
Right.
gonna blow your brains out because there's no one there. You're like in a
Like
movie.
Castaway, like what you just said is actually, I've been thinking about this a lot whenever I go to the grocery store lately, and I find myself like picking up produce, like a banana or eggs or something like that. And I'm like, man, all I had to do was walk into a store, and all these people did all this work to be able to bring it into this one spot for me to be able to just quickly go walk in, pick up some food, and use a little piece of plastic and walk out with some food to go feed my family and make sure that we can go, have the energy to go need. I mean, even you could even extrapolate this out to broader, Jenny McCarthy's of the world, of like all the people that do their meaningful work. That it's like you said, it's an
Yeah,
ecosystem. Like
ecosystem. The
right,
moment you
right,
don't do your duty as the role that you play, it disrupts the whole entire engine.
right.
Right? And so the thing is, disrupt the people closest to you. Like if you don't do the thing that you do, right? It's gonna disrupt your wife's
Yeah.
meaningful life. Right? She can't do her charter school, and vice versa. If she doesn't help you with the Luca, because the thing is, to you, right? Having Luca is a blessing,
Yeah.
but it's also a duty. It's a blessing and responsibility to have something you care about. It's about responsibility. It's basically the yin and the yang, right? Because without responsibility, you don't have Luca. Without Luca, you don't have responsibility. It's the one of those two things. But the thing is, those things has to be like your wife has to become like supportive to you, and vice versa. You have to be supportive to her,
Right.
and that makes it work. But if you suddenly stop, or she suddenly stops, right? It disrupts the way that you do things, and it basically doesn't work. It affects everybody else. And let's say she doesn't do her part, right? Then it also affects me.
Right. Yeah.
But I
Right.
mean, I don't live in the same town, but it still affects me because, and
Right.
then what I can't do still affects me, and me affects my wife, my kids, and so the impact is huge. Just like you're talking about, for you to go and to the grocery and pick up some bananas and some eggs, right? There's like hundreds of touch points.
Hundreds,
Thousands
thousands.
of
I
touch
mean,
points.
I can't even fathom it, honestly. That's why I said it's been blowing my mind a little bit whenever I'm like in the grocery store and I just see aisle after aisle after aisle of food, and you're just like, Jesus.
Talking about even for the people who make the cotton, right?
Right.
For the eggs, right? for them, they have to have some kind of a place. That place has to be built, and the place has to be built is involve what? Engineering and all these people who built that, and then the people who build the engineers built right. They have to go buy cement, and then how is cement made, right? And cement has to be made from this factory, that factory, and so you're talking about thousands and millions of touch points, and you're talking about the supply chain of humanity. It is tremendously huge.
I
And
mean,
if
we don't do
we
anything alone in this
cannot
world.
do alone,
Right.
I
Right.
guarantee you, we are not cannot be self-sustaining because it is against our nature, right? And it's the most inefficient thing ever for us to be self-sufficient. So
Right.
anyone who think he could be self-sufficient, right? Well, it's a dream that's gonna fade, and it's gonna have a very hard reality. And whenever they find out, hey, this ain't rosy, once you get into the fact that, hey, I do everything my own, I don't need anyone else, I don't need to interact with people.
Dude, even Thoreau, who went into the fucking woods, to write his book, he went to the town once a day or whatever it was. Like they found out like later on, like, he rode into the town to have lunch and breakfast with people all the time, or like pick up his mail or what, it's like, fuck off, like nobody can just go into the woods. It's like the guy, Christopher McCandless from Into the Wild, right? The guy that literally went off the grid and just, rode off into the Alaskan bush and died. Like, I mean, like, he tried. Like, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know he shouldn't eat the stupid berries that he ate. That he didn't know that it, like,
But when he eat the berries and then he be incapacitated, who's gonna help you?
No
who's
one.
gonna reach out? Who's
That's why
gonna
he
reach out their
died.
hand and help you, right? So that's why no one can live alone. And the thing is, for the most part, like I'm saying, is if you are the only one on Earth, or if you're the only one on the island, you going to kill yourself, right? That's not to mention that, hey, there are things you do that you could eat something bad. You probably die of poison. You step on some hole and you fell down,
Right.
and then you. I
Break
mean,
your
who's
ankle and
I mean,
you can't move.
I mean, let's say you have like none of those things out there to get you. You probably gonna kill yourself out of boredom, okay?
Right.
And so, but you're talking about like it's very easy for you to say, well, I'm gonna drink this water. Well, this water is contaminated with something. How do you know? And once you are incapacitated, you can't fix yourself. Somebody has to fix you.
Right.
You cannot like literally you cannot fix yourself because once you go like even if you have a fever, right? It's just a common fever, a common cold. That can kill you if you live alone.
Right.
Right? It's not to say, well, it's not that serious. I can get over it. No, you can't. If no one's gonna give you a nudge, right? Then you just basically completely going to spiral downward, and you're going to die before. This is involuntary dying. The other dying I'm talking about is like mentally you're incapable of handling being in solitude. Like I said, people go to prison, and when they act out in prison and shank somebody or kill somebody, the worst punishment is to put that person in solitary confinement.
Right.
And everyone is afraid of that. They're not afraid of death. They're not afraid of getting shanked, but they're afraid of solitary confinement.
My grandmother, I've been doing the Grandma Diaries, right? And my grandma Sears, she's mentioned this multiple times. She was like, one of the things that she's most afraid of is dying alone by herself in her bedroom and nobody knowing that she passed away, and being there just by herself for days until somebody comes over to the house to go visit her, or something like that. She's like, I know it's irrational. She was like, I know that won't happen. She was like, I know whatever, but she was like, I live alone because my grandpa died, and yes, she spends a lot of time and keeps her days filled with, friends and family and church and all the other activities and all that other stuff that she likes to do. But, technically she's at home by herself every single night, but she's like, I'm just terrified one day I'm going to not wake up and nobody's going to know that nobody's not even know,
I mean, it's just built in our gene for whatever. Because like even for me, like you think about it, if you die, like who cares? Like once I die, I don't really care anymore. I don't really care because I'm dead.
Literally. I mean, yeah, literally.
Right?
You can't.
And so it's kind of like your human nature is built in for you to say, well, I don't want to be that person who die alone. So what do you mean? Like it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to say, hey, I'm afraid of dying alone. I think you're afraid of leaving this world with no one by your side or whatever.
That's what she means. Yeah.
I think, it's for whatever reason we need that
we just need other people to help us to live, to keep fighting for each other. Kiara, hasn't been our nanny for the past 6 months because she had her own child. So in January, her daughter Naomi was born, and that's her personal first child. We all agreed she was going to take maternity leave and decide whether or not she wanted to come back or not. She's like, I just want to be a mom for right now. And we're like, that's totally fine. We decided to make the decision to try daycare and see if Luca wanted to go do that versus backfilling that role. Because honestly, like, I don't know that I could ever have another nanny besides Kiara in our house. It'd be just weird. She became like family, and
Right.
And the funny thing is obviously we still say, connected with Kiara, and we plan to forever because we're all kind of linked, to Luca at this point in time, for forever. I mean, she spent a lot of time taking care of him, and spending time with our family. Well, today, Mother's Day was yesterday, and today, I work at home, and I dropped Luca off at daycare and came back and went out on my run. And Amelia and I were listening to our book right now, or it's a book called In Praise of Slowness. It's about, like, basically not running for trains. It's pretty much what the book's about, just the slow movement of going at your own pace and doing the stuff that you like to do. And we're having a grand old time. We get back in, and whatever, later on in the day, a box arrived, and I was like, what is this? It was like this kind of pretty long box, and it said it was Urban Stems on the side of it. I was like, what the hell is Urban Stems? So open it up, and it was like a flowers that had been shipped in a box. And I was like, I've never seen this before, but apparently there's this company called Urban Stems that ships like real live flowers and things like that, and I open up the box, pull out the card. I'm like, who sent this to my wife? I was like, that's really nice. I was like, maybe her mom, somebody from Texas or whatever. And I read the card, and it was from Kiara, and it was like, it's to my wife, and it was like, hey, you're just an amazing mother and an inspiration to me and courageous, and I love you to death, and blah 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 blah. And like, these are things that, it's just funny that come on, man, like, now that I think about it, like, come on, this is our fucking reflection for the night. It's about goddamn Jenny McCarthy, and Kiara sent that today. And my wife, when she got home from work, and she opened, I closed it all back up and put the card back. I was like, I don't want to spoil her surprise. So I saw her open it up, and she was like, oh, like almost like started crying, and it's just really funny because you're right. Like, I mean, these are things that, like, everybody's got to do their job, and she's Kiara's an amazing mother, nanny, whatever, like whatever you wanted to call her. With your own children, it's different, right? I'm sure she's an amazing mother to Naomi, but like, I 100% sure that she loved Luca probably as much as or more than we did, and that was her meaningful work that she got to do every single day, and she loved it. And you see things like
the thing is that makes meaningful relationship works. Is right. We are better together because that's who we are. You have to be who you are. If you don't, then it disrupts the cycles, and exactly. That is something that it affects so many people down the line. Because it's one of those things where we are interconnected in some way, in some fashion. And so for us to do the things that we don't like to do, meaning we are not we're not putting our heart and soul into what we do, I mean, it basically shows up down the line somewhere. So whether you are good at growing plants, building skyscrapers, building rockets, sending people to the moon, discovering medicine, whatever it is, you want the thing that you do because that's what you are drawn to. That's who you are. When you are made up of certain patterns of DNA, you are drawn to the thing you're supposed to do, and that will be like, the things that fulfills you. And so if you are able to find out what that is and put your heart and soul into it, you're going to have a very positive, I guess, life memory. Because we're saying it, you are your memory, because, we only remember the things that makes us feel emotional, whether that's, sad or joy. But for the most part, you want the most of the joyful emotion. And that is what you judge whether your life is fulfilled or not. Because you can say, well, you're going to spend your life on something. Might as well but spend your time in your life to something that matters to you.
Right.
Which is, okay, I just want to live for the next day. Well, you can go just do whatever. You can go clean toilets, and they can pay you to live for the next day.
Yeah, right. Non-meaningful work leads to non-meaningful relationships, and more non-meaningful work and more non-meaningful relationships, and yada yada yada. Meaningful work leads to more meaningful relationships, leads to more meaningful work, leads to more meaningful relationships, and it compounds on each other, right?
It compounds. It compounds like both negatively and positively,
right,
because you think about the way that you and your nanny, right? The way that you trust her, and the way she trusts you, and in the way that she basically have this close relationship with you, because that's a positive spiral effect, right? Right? It compounds. So what happens if I go and let's say I fly to Indiana and I go and I break into your car, right?
right.
Because I'm gonna steal something.
I'm a car breaker. Yeah, it's
Break
my
into your
job,
car.
man.
I'm gonna steal your iPod. I'm gonna sell on
Right,
eBay for $50. I can buy a few beats on it. I can live the next day. But that's the
right.
work that I do. But how you think about it? How do you feel, right?
If you stole my shit, because it's happened to me many times.
Not about your car window.
Well, so there's a caveat here. I've had my car broken into on my own driveway about 5 times in the time that I've lived, because I actually park in the driveway because the garage is really hard to get in and out of. So I just park in the driveway every night. It's always because I accidentally left it unlocked. And there's somebody that would come by every night in the middle of the night to see if people had left cars unlocked. And I would wake up and I see shit all over my dashboard. Like, they would pull down your glove box and go through all your middle console, and then they'd bounce, right? But like, they didn't technically break into my car. They just opened my door and rummaged through all my shit. But every single time they did it, I was like, God damn it. I was like, if they just would have knocked on my door and said like, hey, you left your door open, leave me $50 in the mailbox or something like that, tomorrow, I would be like, I would do that. That's fair. That's a fair price to pay. You know what I mean?
But that's
like,
the thing is, it's meaningful work, right? Because it's still work. I'm still doing something to buy a meal to live to the next day, right?
God, that is the best idea. Wait a minute, that was the best idea ever. You could totally be a crook where you just leave little post-it notes on people's doors saying, hey, just let you know, you left your door unlocked last night and I came by and I was gonna steal it. I didn't steal stuff. Here's my Venmo. You can Venmo me at Chris-Sears6 or whatever for $50 or whatever you feel the value is of me not stealing your shit out of your car. You're welcome.
First place.
I didn't steal anything. I just let them know I could have, but I didn't. But you should, if you feel kind enough.
You should thank me because I didn't steal it. It's like wrong in too many ways.
I'm gonna try this. I just want to do it and then I'll say it outside somebody's house and film them as they come to their car. What did they do? Like, do they laugh? I'm bringing smiles to people's faces in the morning when they wake up.
I don't know, man. You live in a different world. You do that to me, I'll probably stalk you and put you in jail. Don't do it there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But go back to what I'm saying is the thing you do that creates a positive impact. The thing you do creates a negative impact, because when you get car broken into and still get stolen, right? You're gonna that's how the impact of the ripple effect is so huge, depending on negatively or positively. But I'm saying is the thing that you do is still requires an effort of energy or whatever. You still work, right? But the thing is, whatever you do, it's either positive, where it builds up, or it tears you down.
Right.
So it's like, you can say, well, but that's what I'm saying is choosing the directions of what you do is important. And understanding the obvious of life is that we are in this intricate ecosystem. And if you understand nature and you flow with nature, the compound effect of the ripple effects, it is huge. And it's going to give you really what you need as far as, okay, do I have the life that I think, I spent the time wisely versus I wasted on things that I wish I shouldn't have done. So, that's the thing is, this reflection kind of reminds me of having the piece of data, having the piece of information. How would it help me decide which direction I need to go?
Agreed. I can't believe we talked for an hour about, or not a full hour, but close to it about honestly, I thought this was going to be a fast one. We always find ways to fill up the time. It's always good. It's always fun. That's why I love it. My head is swimming. So next time that I go to New York City, what I think I'm going to try to do, I just want to do an experiment. I want to write, I want to go make like Post-it notes that already are pre-made. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down like really busy streets, really of like wealthy neighborhoods that are like, street lined, whatever, car parking, like in like the wealthy neighborhoods of like New York. I'm gonna go down each street and like every maybe 100 yards, I'm just gonna slap a sticker on the window that says, "I came by last night to rob your vehicle and found that your car door was unlocked. Like, I didn't rob your doors. I actually closed it. I locked the door for you, but I could have stolen from you, but I didn't. Now, if you feel that this was of value for you,
I would make $1 trillion.
they don't even need to know their car was actually open. Now that's deceitful. That would be against my integrity.
No, because this is what I do, right? Because I put a sticker on it. I'm just gonna print like thousands of stickers. Okay, I'm gonna just put it on there. Say like I was gonna smash your door, right? Your door is gonna cost you $5 or more to replace, right? You give me 10% of it, which is only $50. Send it here, right? I'm gonna slap on a car like hundreds and thousands of cars, right?
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like you can go do that every night.
Like I would 50,000 a day.
You really could. I mean, I would have paid. I would have been like, well, shit.
I would have paid.
I probably had like $5,000 worth of shit in my car. Like they could have taken all that. Yeah, I mean, I'll give them $100.
But this is what gets me though. This is exactly why I don't like that book.
Of course,
you should thank me because I didn't smash your car. I saved you $450.
If I was a homeless person, I would just go into the shittiest neighborhoods. I'd spend $20 making some pre-canned, like Post-it notes. I could just take one off my little pad. All I gotta do is just walk up and down roads, like
send me Bitcoin.
Venmo me at, like make up a dummy account so people don't know who you are, right? Whatever. Venmo me.
That's why there's Bitcoins.
Right.
Why you think cryptocurrency?
I wouldn't even have known that. That's a great point. Now you got to just pay me in Bitcoin to some account you set up. All right. Next time I go to New York City, I'm going to do a trial.
No, I should turn this into an empire. Let's start training some, high school kids, middle school kids to go say, all you have to do is put notes on there. I'll pay you, whatever an hour, whatever. How many you post? I'll give you a certain percentage, whatever. I mean, you're gonna make $1 trillion.
You would make so much money doing this. Like, I mean, and it would just be funny. Like, and then we can give it back to Clubney. Maybe that's our cash cow. Maybe that's our franchise that we can do to go fund scholarships all day long for people, where we're just saving people's.
Why do we need to fund scholarships now?
Wait a minute. What is the difference between what we're talking about and insurance?
I don't see the difference, but still,
they might slap it on our house saying, "Hey, a fire didn't burn your house down today. You want to pay me $200 this month?"
I don't think it works that way.
I could have burned your house down, but I didn't. $200 this month. Look, we could also say to them, never mind. I guess it's not totally that way, because I guess technically they're on the hook legally if something does happen to your house, But they're screwing up. Anyway, let me think through. I'll have to think through this. We can wrap for the night, but my brain's spinning over here. I got some things. I got some stuff to work through.
This is so wrong in so many ways. Okay, I mean, it's a great idea. You spend a whole day, you make 50,000. Why did you go ask from the bank and get $1 million, right?
My God.
I didn't rob you.
I didn't rob your bank. Give me, like, I could have
10%.
10%. Give me 10.
That's what I'm saying is we can make a lot of money. So
didn't rob your bank. Please send payment. You can pay whatever you want. Like, I mean, we're gonna leave this open ended, right? I'm not demanding payment of anything. I'm just saying, like, whatever you felt the value of me not robbing you was to you, like, you send it that way. So I'm only gonna target like Porsches and and like Ferraris and whatever, like really high end cars or something, where people are like, ah, shit, man, I did have $10,000 in my car last night, because I got for whatever reason, I guess rich people probably carry around $10,000 in cash. I don't know. I mean, maybe they do.
Rich people don't.
Okay, well, fine, whatever. I don't. They carry around really expensive Balenciaga sunglasses that were $5,000 or something like that, or So anyway, all right, we're just gonna have to stop this conversation now because.
Yeah, we should have stopped.
All right, the question we can leave for everybody is: who are the people in your life that make your meaningful work possible? You definitely don't do it alone.
It's important.
So thanks for joining, and we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow night.
Yes, and don't go do that thing. See you guys.